Hello and welcome to the ARC Automation Studio. I'm Alan Avery, a senior analyst here at ARC Advisory Group, and today's topic in the studio is going to be artificial lift optimization systems for upstream oil and gas exploration and production. Joining me today is senior analyst Tim Shea, and he's just completed a study on the topic. Hi Tim, thanks for joining us in the Automation Studio. I'd like to start off by asking what your experience is in the oil and gas market and how that's enriched your analysis of the artificial lift space. What are some of the system types that would help the audience better understand the topic?
The team at ARC has been covering the upstream and midstream oil and gas markets for well over a decade. Personally, I've been covering the oil and gas space for over 8 years at ARC and have been focusing on the artificial lift optimization systems market since our first base year 14 market study. We focused on the main system types that are deployed in the oil fields today across the globe. Those include ESPs or electric submersible pumps, gas lift, hydraulic submersible pumps, jet pumps, plunger lift, PCP or progressing cavity pumps, and rod pumps. Those are the main AL artificial lift systems used today.
Okay, what trends are driving customers to increase their investment in artificial lift optimization systems?
Well, Alan, there are three main drivers causing owner-operators and independent E&P firms to invest in artificial lift optimization systems. Number one is just the overwhelmingly large number of producing wells that can and are benefiting from artificial lift optimization solutions. It's quite large. It's well over 1 million wells operationally annually, and it's about 100,000 or so wells drilled annually, and most of those will be benefiting from some kind of an artificial lift system in the near future. Given that the lower for longer market and the impact of the global pandemic recently, obviously investments in artificial lift systems for the 2020 time frame are probably going to be mitigated or adversely impacted. But in general, over the next 5 years, we believe that these are de facto solutions to ensure production optimization. International oil companies, IOCs, NOCs, national oil companies, and independent E&P firms are realizing they can no longer afford not to invest in solutions that provide operational improvements. And one of the main areas related to production is optimization of artificial lift systems. Lastly, the most important one is that the artificial lift solutions themselves have been proving themselves in the field, and that word of mouth or that success has bred greater adoption as companies in the oil and gas industry, pretty much as an old adage that no one wants to be first in embracing innovation, but no one is sure as heck no one wants to be last into the market as well. So artificial lift optimization solutions are providing real return on investment, and the customer and the owner operators and the independents are noticing this, and they're really embracing it because it really is it's a proven solution in the market today.
Next, I wonder what the underlying drivers are that have been critical to growth in the artificial lift market.
Well, Alan, there really are three main drivers that have been critical for ensuring the relative growth in this market. Obviously, there's a great deal of volatility in the upstream oil and gas market with supply and demand equilibriums being impacted by a number of factors, most recently the COVID-19 pandemic and the impact it's had adversely on demand. But in general, over the next 5 years, we expect to see an increasing demand for energy and a growing demand, particularly continued growing demand for oil and natural gas for power generation. There'll still be a number of vehicles on the road today that'll be using gasoline for propulsion going forward. And based on some overall industry statistics, the outlook is that the global demand for energy consumption will rise between 1.5% to 2% annually over the next 10 to 15 years. The main drivers of that will be primarily China and India and their developing economies and populations. Thus, more wells will be drilled, and the majority of these wells will require some kind of an artificial lift system, of most of which will be required to be optimized to ensure production is maximized to meet that growing demand expected in the future. As we've known now since June 2014, the sort of the end of what they call the easy oil, and we've now entered in for the lower for longer market. The investments in operational improvements by both IOCs and also NOCs, who are ensuring the national interests of their citizens are protected in terms of maintaining reliable energy. We've seen that obviously the major NOCs, the IOCs, and independents are going to be continuing to compete for future production during a time when oil and gas prices are going through a great deal of volatility, and the complexity and challenges of getting that oil technically, financially, and operationally, increasingly more so in remote locations and harsher environments, is all going to require a real criticality towards focusing on lowering the break-even price per barrel of oil equivalent, or BOE. So we find that the demand and the need for optimization of artificial lift has never been more critical than today. Lastly, the impact of the great crew change and obviously the layoffs that were experienced most recently as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, and also previously back when 2014 through 2016, when there was hundreds of thousands of layoffs, that experienced sort of gray-haired workforce is increasingly being have to be replaced by millennials and people that have less of experience in the oil and gas industry, and thus there'll be a greater need for technology and automation to help fill that gap. And the ability that technology provides to allow companies to integrate data across the value chain, incorporating reservoir data, drilling data, and things like that towards the well monitoring and obviously the production optimization, is having some real meaningful operational improvements. So basically, in short, companies are increasingly being forced to do more with less, because they've had to lay off companies due to the oil price impact, and also they having challenges in securing new workforce that'll be sufficiently experienced and trained to handle a great deal of these challenges. I mean, you've had production engineers who traditionally may have had operated 50 wells in the past are now forced to deal with 75 or 100 wells, and they need solutions that the artificial lift optimization solutions provide, that sort of data analytics and sort of advisorial information to help these guys make those decisions to better manage these larger growing number of wells that they're dealing with, is critical. It's critical for them to do their jobs and for the company to maintain production and also, most importantly, do so profitably. So we're seeing that the impact of trying to integrate, as we call it, the holy grail of petrotechnical data integration across the value chain is becoming more of a reality through the use of artificial lift optimization solutions that will leverage analytics, machine learning, advanced communications, and visualization of the data, such that the operator, the technician, can make decisions quickly and effectively.
What are some key strategic initiatives for suppliers to consider to improve their artificial lift competitive position and leverage some of those trends you talked about?
Well, some of the key strategic initiatives that ARC would recommend for suppliers to consider to improve their competitive position in the artificial lift optimization marketplace is obviously, one, is to educate the end user of the real tangible benefits of deploying their solutions. How can it ease their pain points? More importantly, how can it enable them to get more production per well, per production engineer, reduce the amount of time that the technicians and maintenance folks have to go out there and work on these systems using predictive maintenance type solutions and things like that to reduce traffic accidents and really be able to have fewer technicians and maintenance personnel managing a greater fleet of artificial lift solutions out in the field. So really educating them about the meaningful metrics that their solutions can provide through various other success stories of their peers, of other owner operators or independent E&P firms that have used these solutions and proven them in the field. Second, suppliers should work closely, obviously, with end users at the outset to really understand what are their varying requirements of different wells, different fields, and then therefore matching up the right artificial lift system that's going to be optimized with those wells to ensure, again, the greatest amount of production optimization, and also to ensure greater asset uptime. Really, you want the pumps to be minimized in terms of downtime, which is obviously costly to the customer. Obviously, I think it's really important to develop effective sales and marketing campaigns that really highlight, specifically how that their solution can perhaps increase production by 4% or 5%, how it can reduce the number of trips by the technician by, from say 5 times a month to 3 times a month. So very much highlighting those key metrics and benefits that we talked about in the first point to get the customer to really understand what the benefits that they can get. Therefore, it should make it easier for the customer to be more receptive to investing in the solution. Lastly, we want to recommend that not all suppliers take this approach, but to really develop true partnerships with the customer, not just there to sell them a system and move on, but to really let them know that they're in there for the long haul with the customer, and to really help them grow their business and help them realize operational excellence. I think most customers, if they really feel like the supplier is truly a partner, I think that supplier will have a greater competitive advantage than those that are just there to sell a system and move on.
Well, thanks very much, Tim, for joining us today and sharing your insight on the artificial lift market. Listeners who'd like more information about this topic or any other oil and gas related topics should contact their client manager at ARC or the author directly. That does it for this edition in the ARC Automation Studio. Thank you for your attention and have a great day.